Hey there, everyone, and welcome to Week 4. Welcome to this review of the AFC South's fourth week of NFL. And the reason I'm not wearing my Titans hat is because they didn't play because of all the COVID nonsense. But hey, there's still a chance they can play this next week against the Buffalo Bills. Anyways, let's focus on the Week 4 situation. There were some good things and some bad things. Still, as a Titans fan, I was not pleased with the last match. But we're here to talk about the Texans, the Jaguars, and the Colts. Anyways, let's start off with the Texans. No. I'll start off with the Jaguars. No. That match should go second. Yeah. We're starting with the Jaguars and Bengals first. It was quite a back and forth battle. I mean, seriously. You never know what was going to happen between these two. The Jaguars finally gave the Bengals their first victory of the season. The score was 33-25. I mean, after tying with the Eagles last week, the Bengals finally get their first victory, and it's against the Jaguars. Let's start off with the Jaguars first. I mean, Gardner Minshew did okay, only 1 interception and 2 touchdowns. But missing 13 picks and, of course, getting 351 yards. The guy is definitely not looking too good. And then, of course, James Robinson didn't have a good game like he did last week. Yeah. Who would have thought they didn't use the running back on this one? Only 75 yards, no touchdowns. I wouldn't want to be a James Robinson fantasy owner if I were anyone. But of course, DJ Chark had a good game because both of Minshew's touchdowns came from DJ Chark. The guy's pretty lucky. Who would have thought? And then, of course, on the defensive side, Miles Jack was the only one that got one. That's right, Miles Jack's got an interception. Talk about one hell. But still, the team barely hold on for the win. Now on to the Bengals side. Joe Mixon, my God, didn't do as well as Minshew. Only 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 300 yards. And of course, 25 out of 36 picks. But the star of the game was Joe Mixon, their running back from the Bengals. If I were Joe Mixon fantasy owners, I would be celebrating right now. Unless, of course, they were losing. Unless, of course, that fantasy owner was losing still. But what are the odds of that? Because there's still 2 more games coming up. Unless, of course, you're not in those 2 games and you're still losing. Then, but I bet fantasy owners are going, yay, Joe Mixon! Yeah, the guy was on fire. 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. And of course, receiving a touchdown. Of course, a receiving touchdown. My God. Joe Mixon was on fire that game. Minshew's interception came from Jordan Evans, by the way. The Bengals held on in the end 33-25. My God. It was one hell of a mess. Anyways, let's move on to the Texans' home game against the Vikings, which was back and forth, which started out with the Vikings on top at the beginning, but then the Texans swooped right in. And then, of course, that ending. That 4th and goal, man. The Texans really got cheated out of that one. I mean, the Texans almost had that touchdown at 4th and goal. Goal in the last few seconds. And then of course there was a challenge afterwards. The challenge was put in reverse, giving the Vikings the win. Someone had to win, and someone had to finally get the win, and it's not the Texans, it's the Vikings. 31-25. Anyways, let's review the game. The players. Deshaun Watson didn't throw any picks, but he still ended up getting blasted by his own. Though the wide receiver to thank was Will Fuller. Will Fuller was on fire yesterday. 108 yards and a touchdown. Of course, there would have been 2 if that penalty wasn't called, if that challenge didn't happen. Still, but David Johnson didn't do a good job. Only did a decent job. Only 63 yards. He had Duke Johnson backing him up. If Duke Johnson wasn't in there, I think David Johnson would have been okay. What a mess. Of course, Kenny Stills still had a moment, 39 yards and a touchdown. But Will Fuller was the star receiver for the Texans in that game. Of course, their kicker Fairbrun finally woke up, scoring 11 points. Of course, I dropped him in my fantasy league after 2 weeks of disappointment. My, did I regret that decision. No, because I still think the Texans are not going to rely on field goals. This is a one-time opportunity for Fairbrun. Anyways, the score was 31-23. Sorry if I mispronounced the Texans score. Sorry about that. Oops, I almost forgot about the Vikings. What a mess. Now let's move on to the Vikings. Players. Kirk Cousins. Only 1 touchdown. And 260 yards. But Dalvin Cook was on fire. That's right, Dalvin Cook was on fire. Just as he was against the Titans last week. He ran 130 yards and got 2 touchdowns. But the receiver to be proud of is Adam Thielen. He finally got his groove back. Got 114 receiving yards and a touchdown. Now let's move on to the Colts and Bears. The Colts were the only AFC South team to win, and it was against an undefeated team, which is no longer undefeated. I was extremely mad as a Titans fan to hear this news. Never rely on the never rely on a team to beat the Colts, people. You must do it yourself. The Colts finally woke up, people. They are officially a tough team. The score was 19-11. Phillip Rivers had a decent game, 190 yards and 1 touchdown. Though the only receiver that received a touchdown was Mo Ali Cox, their tight end. I mean, seriously. This is for... Of course, Julian Blackmon got an interception. Who would have thought? Anyways, let's move on to Chicago. Nick Foles didn't do so well in his first game as a starting QB for Chicago. I mean, seriously. He was pretty decent. 249, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, but still. Not the way you want to start off your first job. Though Allen Robinson was good. 101 yards and 1 touchdown. But still, I can't be proud of Chicago on this one. I wanted them to beat the Colts to give Titans less pressure, but no! No, they put more pressure! Anyways, Week 5 is going to be intense. If the Titans do play, they're going to host the Buffalo Bills. But that all depends on the positive and negatives on their COVID situation. And let's move on to the others upcoming matches. The Texans and Jaguars. Jaguars are going to face off. Will Texans finally get their first win? Or will the Jaguars shut them down even further? We're going to have to find out, because this game... Because this game is in Houston, people. I think the Texans may have a shot at getting their first win. But who knows? Minshew's ready to fight. But of course, the Colts, they are up against the Cleveland Brown team that has defeated the Dallas Cowboys in a big game yesterday. They'll be heading to Cleveland, Ohio for that game, and it's going to be one hell of a showdown. I just hope the Cleveland Browns can do it, because now I'm entirely doubtful that anyone can beat the Colts now. Anyways, this is the AFC South review for Week 5, and I'll see you next week.